Remember to smile. The people at home don't want to see any frowny faces, okay? Got it. The woman marched quickly away, saying something into her headset, then glancing down at the clipboard in her hand. Lights were shining hot on my face. Cameras pointed at me, and I felt myself sweating. Warm drips of it ran down my chin, but I was too afraid to wipe them away. Slowly, the host walked onto the stage. A slim, short kid with slicked back blonde hair and a dark suit, who appeared no more than 20 years old, if not younger. He ignored us and looked at the cameras, checking to make sure everything was ready, as if he was the one running the whole show. Finally, when everything was set, he glanced back at us and gave a quick, show-stopping smile. His pearly white teeth sparkled in the bright lights. His eyes dark as night, but glimmering with intelligence. "All set, folks?" We nodded nervously. I quickly looked at my two competitors, a tall, athletic man named Dan, who ran a catering company, and a woman named Susan, who was a private chef. Being the executive chef at a well-respected restaurant, I felt confident in my chances to win the cooking battle against the two of them. I had 20 years of experience and culinary school education under my belt. Of course, I had no idea what I was in for. None of us did. Not yet. The bright lights shone in my eyes, obscuring my vision, and I heard someone begin to count down. "Okay, everybody, we are live in 5, 4... The woman stopped counting out loud, and only her fingers could be seen in the glare, held up, and letting us know how long until the camera started to roll. 3, 2, 1. She pointed at the host, who spoke his opening lines seamlessly and with practiced effort. "Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Chopping Block, the only live TV cooking competition of its kind. I'm your host, Eltelnatus, and as always, our judge is the one, the only, Bub Belzy. You folks at home know how the game works. There's only 2 rounds, and our competitors will receive a mystery cauldron full of ingredients, and will be forced to make a dish using each item. Then we'll be tasting each and every dish to find out who's gonna be on the chopping block." He turned and looked at us with his showman grin. I was slightly surprised this egomaniac hadn't arranged for a studio audience. It seemed like just a show for that sort of thing, cheesy and over the top. "Ready, contestants?" We nodded our heads excitedly, still not knowing what was coming. We'd find out soon enough, though. One by one. "Okay, bring down the cauldrons!" 3 massive cauldrons were lowered from the ceiling by ropes until they settled on the floor. I tried to smile and not think about the cameras pointing at me. The lights shone hot on me from the ceiling, the audience watching at home. Not that I had ever seen or heard of this show before, but I guess a lot of people probably watched it. Dan, Susan, and I began to open the cauldron lids. One by one, our faces turned sour as we grimaced and looked at each other with confused disgust. "What is that?" I exclaimed. I couldn't help it. The black pot was full of blood and undeterminate organs. I guess they were from a pig or a cow, but I wasn't really sure. The size of them wasn't quite right either. Venison, maybe, I wondered, but no, it wasn't that either. The clock was ticking, so I didn't think about it too much. I had worked with offal before, so I just dug my hands in and grabbed each of the 4 slippery, blood-soaked organs and ran them over to the sink. Maybe this was a Halloween episode they were filming in advance, I thought to myself. That would explain the cauldrons and the blood-soaked entrails. I just wished they had said something because it caught me so off guard. But then the 2 contestants looked uncertain as well. They were still working up the courage to examine the cuts more carefully. I poked at the bloody bits with fingers and made faces. The thought occurred to me again that I might win this competition. I just couldn't afford to get cocky. After rinsing off the organs in the sink, I got a better look at them. It was a heart, a liver, as well as a pair of kidneys. Still unable to determine which species of creatures they came from, I decided to just wing it and saute the liver and kidneys, then process them to make a spread for a tartine. There wasn't a lot of time for anything else. The round ended with a loud buzzer, and I felt pretty confident, having a decent-looking dish to present. The fact was not lost on the host of the show. Eltelnatus looked at us one by one, and scoffed at everyone's dish but mine. The other 2 were not particularly well plated. I hate to say, still, Dan managed to make a passable flatbread, and Susan prepared a handmade pasta, although I could tell that she struggled with the time constraints. Her ravioli had exploded in the boiling water, resulting in her filling being mostly lost. "Okay, time for judging." The host looked at our plates. He went back behind a black curtain, which was set off to the side. I presume this was where the judge sat, but it was odd that we didn't get to meet him. About 10 minutes later, the host came back with one covered plate in his hand. Okay, time to find out who is on the chopping block tonight. He lifted the dome and revealed Susan's exploded ravioli. I saw her cover her face with her hands in shame. Sorry, Susan. Bub thought your ravioli was well cooked, but unfortunately we both found it salty, and your filling sadly did not make the plate. For those reasons, you've been selected for the chopping block. I understand. Thank you for the opportunity, she said. I went over to shake his hand. Please exit behind the black curtain, the young host said, looking sympathetic, and be well. We took a break after that for half an hour before moving on so that we could drink some water and use the restroom if needed. The next round began and the cauldrons were lowered down once again, and Dan and I set to work grabbing ingredients from them. This time it was a small piece of meat that looked freshly carved and bloody, floating in a sanguineous bath at the bottom of the cauldron. Bub and I are still hungry, said the host enthusiastically. Make us a nice, filling entree this round. We set to work, and I fulfilled his request, creating a hamburger from the strange-looking bits of meat. It was quite lean, so I added a hunk of beef fat from the fridge for the perfect 70-30 meat-fat ratio. Then I formed the patties with my hands. The smell was... It was so strange. Not lamb or beef or pork or venison. It wasn't goat or emu either. I tried those as well, and I was fairly certain that this was a meat I'd never eaten before. I nibbled on the cooked pieces, tasting it for seasoning. I just hoped that we'd find out what it was at the end of the show, since I was pretty curious, to be honest. The time expired and the buzzer went off again. Time's up! Bring your dishes forward. Prepare to be judged by Bub. Leaving our plates on the table provided, we stepped back and waited. Instead of taking the dishes back to the judge this time, we heard him coming out to us. Heavy footfalls, thudding louder and louder from behind the curtain, and my heart began to beat fast and hard in my chest as I felt an impending sense of doom and dread overcome me. The curtains rippled and ruffled in the wind as if something immense was moving behind them. And then I saw him. Saw it. The thing which came out from behind the black curtain was huge and dark, covered in tendrils of smoke and steam, which moved in and out of it and all around it, making it seem not entirely real, and yet flies buzzed around it, swarmed alongside it as if one with the beast. Welcome our famous judge, everybody! Prince of Demons, Lord of the Order of Flies, Bub Belzy. Beelzebub, you twerp. The shadow demon's creature's voice was like broken glass scraping across a chalkboard, like an avalanche colliding with freight train during a thunderstorm. It felt like hearing it would make me go deaf. Don't you talk to me like that, I'll tell Dad. You would, little daddy's boy. What? Nothing, forget it. Let's just eat Susan. She looks delicious. Dan and I stood staring, jaws hanging open, watching as the two demons ate our food. It was obviously what they were, and even worse, I realized now that we had unwittingly prepared our former co-contestant and served her up as burger and stew. Why are you doing this? I screamed at them. Who would watch this? The host replied with his mouth full while chewing Susan's stew. First of all, everyone in hell loves this show. It is in its 508th season. And to answer your first question, why? Listen to yourself. We're demons. That's what we do. You know, just try to make the world a little bit more evil. One person at a time. You'll never recover from this. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll infect a few more people with the inevitable darkness that will fester inside you. The shadow monster chuckled under his breath. This burger is delicious, by the way. You win by a long shot. I did a mental fist bump despite the situation. I won the competition, even if it was orchestrated by demons and the mystery box item were human remains. I'd still won. That's gotta be worth something, right? Turns out something was my life. The winner of Chopping Block is the only one who is allowed to leave the game show. The runner-up is dismembered and used for the appetizer round the next day. So, what are you gonna do with your winnings? The human-looking demon asked as he was letting me out the door. The $10,000 they had given me felt more like blood money now, a bribe. But I didn't want to find out what they would do if I told anyone, so I vowed to keep my mouth shut. I'm not sure, I said, stepping out into the sidewalk. Maybe I'll open a restaurant. A burger place. I've always been really good at making burgers. You definitely should, Bob. If you do, I'll stop by. That's for damn sure. I turned around and started to walk away. Oh, and Bob, he called after me. Yeah? Don't forget about our Tournament of Champions next month. Can't wait to see what you come up with for that. You're gonna have way stiffer competition next time, though. Good luck. He slammed the door shut and left me standing in the street, stunned and terrified. I would have to do it all over again next month. Anybody have any good recipes? Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching tonight's video or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. If you guys are confused about what I'm talking about every time I say tonight's video or tonight's episode of the podcast, you can always find out more about that at youtube.com/MrCreepyPasta, where you can subscribe and get the latest video. Or if you're listening to the videos, then you can find it on Spotify under MrCreepyPasta Storytime, and you can listen to this as a podcast, if you want to save yourself your data. Or if you're listening on the podcast and you're like, man, what episode is this? I don't know how to find more of this or what came before it. Check out the YouTube. There's full playlists of all the series, and they go years back, which I can't do on the podcast, unfortunately. And like always, I want to give a big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon. You guys, as always, are the real MVPs. And I really appreciate it. If you guys want to join them, you can head over to patreon.com/MrCreepyPasta and see all these cool, fine folk that I'm about to mispronounce the names of here or in the description down below. People such as Jacob Schaefer, Zach, Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Brian Ars, Ken Lando Higuchi, Bobby Karman, Tristain Pelton, Chase Burnett, Diana Kraus, Melancholy Corpse, Hollow Zero, Ferb, Harley, Tainted Raven, Katie Birch, Sashi Suzaku, Katrina Beisel, Kayden the Spooky Boy, Zane Nightshade, MyBodySoundsLikeRiceKrispys, Ashwood, Lord of the Weebs, Jay, Miss Xandra, MrUnsettlingSpaghetti, Eurogore, Tsuji Campbell, Marco Takes Dabs 420, Stricken, Azurine Fox, Robert White, Andre Garcia, Snails Brennard, Legit Quad Feed, Fried Chicken 12, James Bruce, Chris Levins, Freddy Krueger, Tynanny, 1-800-Nightmare, Unknown Nobody, Michael Scarborough, Infernal One, James Lowe, Lisa Cottrell, Jimbo the Hutt, Caspian, Jordan Els, Hades' Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Cryptic Nightmares, Brennan Wright, Someone You Love, Kiri the Sloth, Tommy Green, Liam Newman, Sky Harbor, Caleb Dougal, Nina Smith, Nico Kaio, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, Trace Miles, and Corey Kenshin. Thank you guys, as always, for supporting the channel. You're all wonderful. I love every single one of you guys. For real. You guys help me out so much, as well as everybody down there in the description below, as well as everybody else who watches and subs and does everything else with this channel. Thank you guys so much. And as always, sweet dreams.